Oh my.
Get ready. Let's see how good Mike's Eve is here.
Woo!
Yep.
Oh, man.
Party fell
Close,
on that
but no
one.
banana.
You're all here.
Flip the refold.
Never mind, Mike's got it.
That was easy. Multi-purpose.
No, it just stays on there. It listens it every time.
It's like seasoning.
It's patina.
Yeah, that's,
You need their 2
That's
cups
character.
for
Okay. We'll start off with a little bit so we can do a toast first, and then I'll come back and fill everybody up.
their, yeah. No, just for 2.
We'll do 2 for the... Tell me when. We'll have a little bit.
Hey, I have one inside the door if you need one.
Have the other piece of this in here?
Right behind me.
You open the door.
Anybody else? Okay. I know, so what I need is you two to kneel down right here in front. And we'll put your glasses right in front of you. I know you've flown, but it's been 30 years, so. What we're going to do is we're going to call Keith over here. Keith!
Keith!
We need a story. I don't have one.
I like Eric's answer.
Keith's got a good story.
Keith does have a good story.
Eric, you want to tell the story?
Eric, do you have a good story? Haven't heard your story.
I haven't heard your story either.
Let's hear
What's your
Eric's
story?
Did you want some more?
All right, ballooning started a little while ago. It was like, what, 1783? Just a couple years ago. A couple guys hanging out. They were in front of a fire, burning paper. And they noticed that in the ash, or excuse me, in the smoke, there was ash and it was rising up in the air. And they actually thought that there was something magical with the smoke. The reason they were burning paper is because they owned a paper mill. So they saw this and went, hey, let's see if we can capture this and see what happens. So they basically built a large paper bag, hung it from 2 poles with a line in the middle of it, built a big old nasty fire, anything to make thick black smoke they were pushing into this thing. So, you know, wet hay, Firestone tires, carcasses, you know, all that good stuff. So this thing starts to fill up and they can tell that it wants to fly, so they cut it loose and it does, you know, take off and come back down again. They did it a couple more times just to make sure that it wasn't a fluke, and it did the same thing every time. So they were kind of happy. This was, I didn't tell you that either, this was in Paris, France too, all right. So they were sitting there talking and they decided they were going to go to the king and say, you know, hey, we've figured out a way to fly, would you be interested in this? And of course he went, yeah. So he gave him some cash and some linen and silk, and they built a balloon that was about half the size of the ones that we fly. And you've probably seen it before. It's purple with all kinds of gold writing around it and little shapes and everything. It's a really pretty balloon. They'd also had figured that if you keep putting smoke into it, it will stay up in the air. So they built a round basket with a screen in the middle so they could keep throwing crap on it to keep it in the air. They had this thing ready to fly, you know, standing out there. There's a couple 100,000 people standing around looking at this. The only thing is they weren't ready to jump into it yet. And they thought about going to the dungeon and getting a couple people there because they were expendable back then. But if this worked, then they become noblemen, and you couldn't do that with people from the dungeon. So they actually got through the crowd. There was 2 guys that jumped up. One guy's name was Pilatre de Rosier, and that's actually where we do get the word pilot from. And like anybody else, he talked his buddy into going with him. So they put the bear down and jumped in it. They cut the ropes loose and off this thing flew. It ended up flying outside of the palace walls. And back then they did not have cell phones or internet. So the people on the outside had no clue to what was going on. And back then there were only 2 things that flew and belched black smoke. One was a demon, the other was a dragon. What do you do with either one of them if it comes in and lands close to you? Any guesses? So it was farmer, came into his land, so he got his hired hands, they got their pitchforks and their scythes, and they shredded this thing. Pilatre and his buddy made it back to the king and told him all had gone well except for the landing part of it, you know, everybody revolting against it. So they were wondering what they could do to make people understand that they actually were from Earth, and that's where the champagne came in, wherever the bottle went. Back then it always would have the king's seal on the front of it too, so they'd hang it over the side of the basket and say, we are from Earth, if you help us out we'll share some of the king's champagne with you, which back then was a really big thing. So that's where the champagne came from. It was a little while after that the Irish found out that we were drinking in the morning. And they wanted in. The only thing is they didn't have anything to offer So they thought about it for a little while. So they came up with what's known as the Ballonist prayer. And we're going to say that here in just a little bit. You want me to do the whole thing for you there, big guy?
No, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
Thanks. I don't have a story. Usually I'm like, well...
Balloon goes up, balloon come down.
Yeah. There you go. Get up early, drink, and then that's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the Ballonist prayer. When we get done, you'll bend over, pick up the cup with your teeth, and drink without using your hands. You can use your hands as ballast.
She's
You
like,
can't
what?
Put your hands on the cup.
My daughter's first drinking game.
So you'll be a pro come college. If you spill, then you don't get another balloon ride. All right, you ready? The winds have welcomed you to Sodus. The sun has blessed you with its warm hands. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined your laughter and sent you gently back into the loving arms of Mother Earth. Amen. Now you may drink.
Drink.
Yep.
Oh, that's right on. Go, girl.
She's still spilled a little. I see it on her nose.
Yay.
Good job. Thank you. Good job. Nice. Really nice.
So, we got the bottle from today. Oh, there's a little.
I know, but that's why.
That's why the napkin is.
Yeah.
It shows that your names on both sides, the date, the signature, the balloon, and then the balloonist prayer.
Yeah, that looks right. Cool.
Pick it up, put it back in the book.
It usually kept clean. Otherwise,
Your 2 champagne flutes that usually we toast to.
Have freezing cold water.
Thank you.
And then we got your
Okay, thank you.
first flight certificates.
Wow.
And then I dropped the ball. She told me, make sure you grab pins. Oh, we got
You have
one
one.
pin. So we'll give it to you. And then if you want to come by Fiesta office,
if you come by Fiesta office,
Jennifer will get you. Thanks. There you go.
I borrowed one from a
Thank you.